All right, so a lot of heavy emotions, and I think it took, maybe still is taking people time to process what actually happened and the fact that the speaker and her husband are actually gone. We know the Hoffmans right now are in the hospital recovering from surgery. Both of them sustained multiple gunshot wounds. It's truly a miracle that they did survive. We were told by a family member yesterday that one of the bullets pierced very near to Senator John Hoffman's heart, but did not pierce his heart. They both came out of surgery. We were updated that Yvette Hoffman was alert and communicating, and we know that she was exchanging texts with John Croman, who is our longtime political reporter, and that she had said there's still a really long road ahead. You can imagine they both had 8 or 9 gunshot wounds, various parts of their body that are now going to need to be repaired. But we know throughout the state and the country, lots of thoughts and prayers going up for that family. Let's take a little turn here. We're hopeful that they will apprehend this suspect, 57-year-old Vance Belter, and that they will do it soon, because there's so much fear still in the hearts of so many, particularly our elected leaders, that he's still on the run with a hit list of 70 people on it. What happens to him? What kind of charges would he face? What would that road look like for him?
Well, I think the authorities are hoping that he can be captured alive so that he can be prosecuted and doesn't take the easy way out, so to speak.
Correct.
That happens so often in
cases where
like
they
this.
know there's not a lot of hope
Right.
for their future.
I do know that the federal prosecutor's office is ready to file charges. They already have them ready. And this is a case that terrorism could be charged and would carry the death penalty. So
because it's a federal case. So there's a misunderstanding that they would be Minnesota charges, therefore he could not face the death penalty.
I believe that the Hennepin County Attorney's Office can charge him as well, and they are probably fully prepared to do that. However, it's one of these cases that could be used in federal court, and President Trump has already said that will happen. With the DOJ.
They will seek those charges.
And so, if he is charged, if he is captured alive, and if he is charged in federal court, he will face murder and terrorism, political violence charges related to political violence, which do carry the death penalty if they choose to seek it, and there's no doubt that they would seek it in this case.
I know you've been in touch with all kinds of different sources in law enforcement, and I'm just wondering, it appears right now that he acted alone. That's still your impression?
Yeah, right off the bat, there were questions about that because there were 2 different crime scenes and there was no way to know if this is the same person at each scene. And so they don't want to rule anything out. And so that's kind of how they approached it from the beginning. But there never was indication that there was a second person involved. They just didn't want to completely rule that out yet. And when it came to the question of this vehicle, his so-called getaway vehicle, the presumption is that he may have made it to that North Minneapolis house on foot. It was about a 7-mile walk from Brooklyn Park to that house, which would take about 2.5 hours for an average person to walk, which fits the timeline if he made it back to that house at about 6 a.m. after the, 3:30 confrontation with the officer after the shootings in Brooklyn Park. And so the timing would make sense if he could make it to that house on foot. He had to get a car one way or another. Whether that car, the Be on the Lookout that went out said that the Buick that they were looking for was registered to a different person. We don't know if this is somebody, and they were labeled as person of interest, which sometimes can mean suspect, but sometimes just somebody they want to talk to.
Like we just want to talk to you because your car is currently being used by this suspect.
And that's all. That this person's vehicle, it was registered in this other person's name.
And we don't know if it was stolen or if he knew the person and had permission to use it.
Those are all questions right now.
And we do know that his wife was questioned about 10:30 yesterday morning.
Yeah, and by question,
11.
that's another thing where we don't know the extent of. Like, we don't know if she sat down in an interrogation room and answered, all the questions that they wanted to ask, or if they stopped her on the side of the road or outside of the gas station in Onamia and did a search of the vehicle and asked her, a few different questions and then let her go. Like, we just don't know all the granular details of the investigation. We know things in broader strokes. So
there are a lot of rumors on social media about what was found in the vehicle. Is there something that if they would have found in the vehicle in your experience with law enforcement, that they would have said, "We're taking you in. We're not letting you go"?
That could have been. I mean, there's some people.
But they didn't take her in.
There's some sources that I've shared what I've heard with them, and they would, in their responses, "Well, I'm surprised they didn't arrest her." But
we also don't know.
She's not charged. She's not accused of anything right now, so we have to tread lightly on that. It's just simply an open question. did he share information with her? And, you know, and I don't know how much would be a crime if he did share it with her and she didn't report it. I'm not sure if that would be a crime. So it's hard to say, you know, what involvement, if any, she has. It's just part of the investigation right now.
Okay, and lots of rumors. And as soon as we can confirm any of it, we will report it to you. Easy to post rumors online, of course.